Battle through the heavens. Qing Hai's body was completely sealed by the white-haired, old man and his partner. The Dou Qi within his body had even ceased flowing at this moment. He struggled for a while, but he was unable to escape. Finally, his fierce eyes suddenly turned to Xiao Yan and coldly laughed, "If you dare to hurt the old me, it will be equivalent to you becoming enemies with the Hall of Souls. The old me doesn't know just what kind of background you have, but offending the Hall of Souls is an extremely foolish action." Cuckoo, what arrogant words. Is the Hall of Souls that great? The white-haired man by the side strangely laughed when he heard Qing Hai's words. Xiao Yan's group stepped through the empty air and paused in front of Qing Hai. With a faint smile, Xiao Yan uttered, "Even if I don't do anything to you, the Hall of Souls will still not let me off. Therefore, your threat is useless against me." Xiao Yan's eyes turned to the two elders on Qing Hai's sides after speaking until this point. He cupped his hands together and respectfully said, "I have troubled the both of you. Cuckoo, it is merely young Mrs. orders. There is no need to thank us." The black-clothed elder smiled and waved his hand. Sun Er grinned. Her bright eyes turned to the vicious-looking Qing Hai and asked, "Xiao Yan Ji, how do you plan to deal with this honorable elder from the Hall of Souls? Let's seal him. An honorable elder is not an ordinary protector. It is likely that even the Hall of Souls will feel some heartache if they lose him. He might be of some use when rescuing teacher in the future." Xiao Yan mused for a moment and finally gave a suggestion. "You wish to seal the old me? In your dreams." Qing Hai's expression became ferocious when he heard Xiao Yan's words. Immediately, he let out a dense, cold laugh. His face suddenly flushed red, and the Dou Qi within his body forcefully attempted to free itself from the restraints of the black-clothed, old duo as it launched through his body in a wild manner. "Be careful, he wants to self-destruct." Sun Er's expression changed when she saw Qing Hai's appearance. She grabbed Xiao Yan and withdrew at a lightning-like speed. The faces of the black-clothed, old man and white-haired, old man sank. Both of their palms swiftly pressed against Qing Hai's body. Numerous soft, grug sounds appeared and a faint, blood fog seeped from where their palms landed. "We cannot stop him. This is a self-destruct unique to the Hall of Souls." The two black-clothed elders frowned after failing to stop Qing Hai's self-destruct despite their efforts. They helplessly shook their heads as their bodies moved. Subsequently, they quickly withdrew. Wisps of blood fog seeped out of Qing Hai's skin after the two of them pulled back. His eyes also protruded out. Threads of blood flowed out from them. A wild, tyrannical energy was channeled around his body in an uncontrolled manner, causing the surrounding space to become distorted. Bang! An increasing amount of fresh blood appeared on his body. A moment later, a shocking explosion finally sounded in front of the eyes of a countless number of people. His flesh exploded, and the frightening explosive energy suddenly swept out like a hurricane across the sky. The raging hurricane-like energy continued for nearly 3 to 4 minutes before it gradually scattered. Only at this moment did the dark color, that covered the sky, disappear. Xiao Yan knit his brows and looked at the gradually scattering energy hurricane. He did not expect the old fellow to be this ruthless. This old fellow had self-destructed without even allowing Xiao Yan to say any more words. An elite Dou Zun will not die so easily. This kind of self-destruction will only destroy his physical body. If his soul escapes, the Hall of Souls will not find it difficult to create another body for him. Tian Huazunzhe shook his head and spoke somewhat regretfully. He was the best example of this. Hence, he talked about this matter with the greatest authority. Xiao Yan softly sighed. All of these old foxes were not ordinary people. That is only if his soul can escape, Sun Er by the side smiled when Xiao Yan sighed. He turned his head upon hearing her words, only to see her autumn water eyes get covered by a golden color. A faint golden glow shot out of her eyes. The space rippled after this punch was thrown. It split and formed a palm-sized spatial crack. Sun Er's hand curled when the spatial line appeared. A suction force surged out. Xiao Yan's group immediately heard the frightened voice that was suddenly emitted from the crack line. After which, an illusionary spiritual body was forcefully pulled out of space itself. The spiritual body had just appeared when it threw a punch at Sun Er with a vicious expression. However, a sizzling sound erupted when his hand touched the golden-colored flame. A sharp miserable cry resounded across the sky. Sun Er faintly smiled. She waved her hand and the gold-colored flame surged out. After which, it wrapped around Qing Hai's spirit. Qi. The golden-colored flame lingered around Qing Hai's body. Following which, a thought flashed across Sun Er's heart and the flame swiftly shrank. A spiritual body was quickly shrinking amid a sharp miserable cry. A moment later, it transformed into a palm-sized golden-colored flame. Sun Er held this cluster of gold flame with her hand and rushed down, landing beside Xiao Yan. She tossed the flame to him and gently laughed, "Xiao Yan Gge, I'll give him to you." Xiao Yan received the light cluster and some surprise flashed across his eyes. By borrowing the fallen heart flame, he was able to detect the soul. However, he was unable to reach deep into the spatial crack. It was unexpected that Sun Er had managed to do this. Xiao Yan took out a jade bottle from his storage ring. He stuffed the light cluster into it and rubbed his finger over the mouth of the bottle. A circular, invisible flame appeared over it. After which, he returned the jade bottle to his storage ring. A Dou Zun class soul might be of much use to him in the future. Fallen heart flame. Did First Elder Su Qian jump in anger because of you? Sun Er glanced at the invisible flame. Her eyes curled into a crescent shape as she covered her mouth and laughed. Xiao Yan helplessly shook his head. He bitterly laughed, "If you had not appeared this time around, it is likely that I would have found it difficult to escape this time around." Old Lin. A faint, bright redness surfaced on Sun Er's face as she chided. "Cuckoo, I will not say any more, I will not say any more." The white-haired old man hurriedly waved his hand when he heard her cry. Upon seeing Sun Er's little girl-like embarrassed appearance, he exchanged looks with the black-clothed elder beside him. Both of them quietly sighed in their hearts. Sun Er had always maintained a rippleless, old well-like emotion within the Gu realm. There was seldom anyone in the clan who could get her to reveal a smile. Her cold and indifferent manner, along with her special status, caused her to appear like a goddess, making it difficult for others to approach her. However, they had never expected the usual ice mountain-like, young goddess to reveal little girl-like feelings in front of this fellow called Xiao Yan. This caused the both of them to feel pleased and helpless. With her position in the Gu clan, it was really quite difficult if Xiao Yan wanted to be together with her. Even if he was the descendant of that person. However, forget about matters in the future. If the feelings Sun Er felt for Xiao Yan were to spread to the Gu realm, it would immediately stir a great wave. After which, there would be a countless number of furious, young male geniuses from the Gu clan who would step forward. Their aim would definitely be Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan also smiled when he saw the faint, bright redness on Sun Er's face. His heart felt a little touched. Although he and Sun Er were separated by a great distance, she had always been paying attention to him. These feelings had grown undoubtedly very deep. Xiao Yan felt a little joyful and proud when he thought of this. Sun Er's character was just like an unearthly pure lotus. Perhaps it was due to her bloodline, but ordinary things would have difficulty causing her emotions to fluctuate. Even when it came to the matters of the opposite sex, it would be extremely difficult to invade her heart. Fortunately, before this future goddess could completely master her emotion, Xiao Yan had placed an imprint that was difficult to remove in her heart. This imprint ultimately allowed Xiao Yan to successfully pull this perfect goddess, that countless number of people desired, into his embrace. This point was also the thing that caused the two elders to sigh emotionally. Xiao Yan's hand rubbed his still somewhat giddy head. This was the sequelae after having used the Skyfire 3 mysterious change. After which, Xiao Yan turned his eyes and looked at the little fairy doctor, who was standing quietly behind him. He was just about to say something when he discovered that the eyes of the two ladies collided together. Based on his instincts, he seemed to have sensed the surrounding temperature showing signs of rising. Cough. Xiao Yan softly coughed before facing Sun Er and introducing the little fairy doctor. "This is the little fairy doctor." After saying those words, he looked at the little fairy doctor and introduced Sun Er. "This is Sun Er." The little fairy doctor and Sun Er slightly smiled without any prior agreement after hearing Xiao Yan's introductions. After which, they took a step forward. The two females extended their jade-like, white hands and gently shook them in front of Xiao Yan's eyes. The smile that had surfaced on Xiao Yan's face after seeing the two shake hands suddenly stiffened because he discovered a gray-colored Dou Qi flow and the golden-colored flame slowly rising from both of their hands. Two outstanding ladies had started an instinctive comparison in front of Xiao Yan during their first meeting. The strange gray-colored Qi flow and the golden-colored flame quietly collided where both of their hands made contact. However, no loud sound appeared. The two of them quietly mingled. A slight sizzling sound and energy ripple erupted from the point of contact. This sudden unexpected change caused the black-clothed, old man to be startled. He hurriedly stepped forward and wanted to intervene. However, he stopped after hesitating. His gaze carefully swept over the little fairy doctor and surprise flashed across his eyes. Her appearance and demeanor did not lose to even Sun Er. Moreover, the thing that surprised him most was the little fairy doctor's strength. Such a young elite Dou Zun was indeed quite shocking. Just what was so good about this little fellow? He had so many outstanding ladies beside him. What are the two of you doing? Xiao Yan by the side similarly experienced a change in expression due to the sudden battle between the little fairy doctor and Sun Er. He hurriedly extended his hand over. When he was about to forcefully pull the two ladies apart, the jade-like hands, that had been together, gently withdrew. The gray-colored Dou Qi flow and the golden-colored flame swiftly scattered. I have long heard that little fairy Dr. Jie's older sister, woeful poison body is really strong. It really lives up to its reputation now that we have met. However, thank you for taking care of Xiao Yan Gege during this period of time. Sun Er gently took a step back, rubbed her hand mildly, and spoke with a slight smile. I have also heard Xiao Yan mentioning you many times. Now that we have met, you are indeed a lady blessed by the heavens. No wonder you are constantly on his mind. The little fairy doctor replied with a warm smile. Although these two ladies appeared exceptionally warm when they spoke, Xiao Yan could sense an unusualness within their voices. He bitterly laughed in his heart. These two ladies had the capital to be proud. One had a natural poison constitution while the other possessed the bloodline of an ancient Dou Di. Now that they had met, there was a vague feeling of the both of them refusing to give in to the other. Could this be the opposition between two outstanding ladies? Alright, this matter is over. Let's all rest for a while. Moreover, this is not a good place to chat. Xiao Yan shook his head and helplessly spoke. Sun Er and the little fairy doctor nodded slightly upon hearing his words. Seeing them nod, Xiao Yan took the lead to move his body and land in the Yi clan manner in the center of the city. Sun Er's group followed close behind as a countless number of gazes watched them. The entire Yi city also began to turn into an uproar after Xiao Yan's group rushed down. The soul-stirring battle today would likely spread throughout the central plains like the wind. Big brother Xiao Yan, are you alright? Xian Lan's face was filled with joy when she saw that Xiao Yan was fine. Xiao Yan smiled and nodded. He pointed at Sun Er and said to Xian Lan. This is Sun Er, I think that you should have also heard of her. He, one of the founders of Pan's Gate. Senior Sun Er. Being a member of Pan's Gate, how can I have never heard of her? Xian Lan covered her mouth and saucily laughed. Sun Er was also startled when she heard her reply. Her elegant face immediately revealed a gentle smile that caused the hearts of those young people from the Yi clan to rapidly beat as she softly said, "Cuckoo, so you are also a student from the Inner Academy. Elder Yizhong, can you please arrange a place for us to chat?" Xiao Yan grinned and turned to Yizhong. "Cuckoo, Mr. Xiao Yan really knows how to joke. Such a small matter is naturally not a problem." Yizhong hurriedly nodded upon hearing his request. He personally led the way at the front. Xiao Yan smiled. He led Sun Er, the little fairy doctor, and the rest followed. The courtyard was still filled with many members of the Yi clan. Some of the younger members revealed envious expressions when they saw the two ladies with demeanors possessing individual advantages. An ordinary person was already blessed by the heavens to have either one of them, yet Xiao Yan was able to enjoy the both of them. From the way they saw it, what was there to regret if one lived until such a state in life? Xiao Yan sat on a chair and his tensed body finally relaxed. He sensed the piercing pain in his veins and involuntarily parted his mouth. The sequelae of the Skyfire 3 mysterious change was quite great. If his body was not extremely strong, it was likely that he would have long since been left on the ground unable to get up. Xiao Yan Gge, what are your subsequent plans? Sun Er pushed the teacup beside her to Xiao Yan as she inquired with a gentle voice. I need to rescue teacher from the hands of the Hall of Souls. The strength of Xiao Yan's hand holding the teacup involuntarily increased. A chill flashed across his dark black eyes. Xiao Yan Gge's teacher should be Yao Zunjia, Yao Chen, from back then, right? Sun Er was not surprised at Xiao Yan's answer as she softly inquired. She had done some research after having returned to the Gu clan. Hence, it was not surprising that she was aware of Yao Lao's identity. Xiao Yan slightly nodded. Yao Chen. The black-clothed, old man by the side was slightly astounded when he heard that name. Immediately, his eyes glanced at Xiao Yan in surprise. He said, it is unexpected that he is your teacher, that old fellow's medicinal refining skills are something that hardly anyone on this Dou Qi continent can match. Cuckoo, that's right. Back then, we had also met Yao Chen a couple of times. However, the both of us were merely ordinary Dou Zongs at that time. The other white-haired, old man also laughed and let out a sigh full of emotions. Xiao Yan grinned. His eyes turned to Sun Er, who was in deep thought, as he asked, what is it? The Hall of Souls will definitely take precautions against you after the matter today. They might even shift the place where they have imprisoned Mr. Yao Chen. If you were to boldly head there, it is likely that you will only deliver yourself to their hands. Sun Er hesitated for a moment and replied. You should not underestimate this Hall of Souls. My Gu clan has exchanged blows with them many times over the years. However, we have not hurt their core. With your strength, even if you have these two Dou Zuns by your side, it is likely very difficult to rescue Yao Chen from the hands of the Hall of Souls if you do not plan properly. The white-haired, old man also reminded. Young miss cannot stay for too long this time around. She must return in at the very most 10 days. Your status is a little unique to our Gu clan. Before you possess the ability to protect yourself, the old me feels that it is best that you do not make contact with the Gu clan. Xiao Yan gently knit his brows. Although he was uncertain just what unique meant, he was aware that there was some relationship between the Gu clan and the Xiao clan. Moreover, the Dou Qi ancient god's jade on him was something that the Gu clan wanted to obtain. Yao Lao had reminded him back then that it was best not to leak word about it. Otherwise, it would definitely attract a fatal disaster. Due to this point, Xiao Yan would be careful when making contact with the Gu clan. Xiao Yan Ge, the strength of the Hall of Souls is far more than what you have seen. Therefore, you must not be careless. The matter of rescuing Mr. Yao Lao and Uncle Xiao all relies on you. Sun Er's expression was a little grave. She was afraid that Xiao Yan would head to rescue Yao Lao and now in his recklessness and end up landing in the hands of the Hall of Souls. After all, the true intention of the Hall of Souls was the Dou Qi ancient god's jade in Xiao Yan's hands. The hand Xiao Yan used to hold the teacup tightened a little. His heart was fretful. Every additional day he allowed Yao Lao to remain in the Hall of Souls would be an additional day of suffering. This caused him to feel as though his heart was being sliced by a blade. Sun Er softly sighed after seeing Xiao Yan's face. She ceased saying any additional words. The hall descended into silence after she stopped speaking. A moment later, Xiao Yan finally exhaled a deep breath of air. His voice was low and deep. I will not head to the Hall of Souls for the time being. Sun Er sighed in relief within her heart when she heard his words. She said, Xiao Yan Ge, please rest assured. Mr. Yao Chen is not an ordinary Dou Zun. The Hall of Souls will not take his life so easily. Once I return, I will use the strength of the Gu clan to find the location where Yao Chen is imprisoned. If I receive any news, I will immediately dispatch someone to inform you. Xiao Yan slightly nodded. Since this moment was not the best time to rescue Yao Lao, he would need to prepare for the matter of the Pill Tower's pill gathering. If he was able to obtain the 3,000 burning flames, his strength was bound to soar. At that time, he would be able to fight against experts at Bing He's level. Once that occurred, he would quietly gather helpers and rescue Yao Lao from the hands of the Hall of Souls in one attempt. As for his father Xiao Zhan, Xiao Yan's eyes became slightly dim when he thought of his father. Ever since Xiao Zhan had disappeared back then, there had not been any news of him. If not for the soul light spot on the Dou Qi ancient god's jade still existing, it was likely that even Xiao Yan would have thought that Xiao Zhan had been killed by the Hall of Souls. Perhaps I might be able to obtain some news relating to father from Qin Hai's mouth. Xiao Yan's finger rubbed the ring on his finger. A dense expression suddenly flashed across his eyes. Being an honorable elder of the Hall of Souls, it was likely that Qin Hai was aware of many things. However, regardless of whether it is rescuing Yao Lao or father, all of that is based on the precondition of me possessing sufficient strength. Hence, 3,000 burning flame. I will obtain you. The hustle and bustle created from the soul-stirring battle during the day finally paled as night gradually covered Yi City. However, many people's hearts were still filled with excitement and exhilaration because of the battle. A battle of this level was something rarely seen across the Central Plains. What piqued the curiosity of the people in Yi City was the identity of the green-clothed lady who appeared near the end. These people in the Pill region clearly understood just what kind of strong faction this Ice River Valley was, yet even Bing He had submitted in front of a countless number of eyes. All of this was due to the mysterious, green-clothed lady. From this, one could tell that just what kind of a shocking background this lady possessed. A crescent moon hung in the dark black night sky as somewhat icy moonlight scattered down, covering the city that had been devastated during the day with a layer of faint silver yarn. Xiao Yan was seated cross-legged in a guest room deep within the Yi clan manor. Both of his hands had formed a training seal. There was a heated aura vaguely lingering around him as he inhaled and exhaled. Wave after wave of natural energy slowly entered Xiao Yan's body. After undergoing a refinement, they transformed into clusters of Dou Qi that flowed through his veins. This caused the faint feeling of pain emitted from his veins to gradually reduce. This quiet training lasted for 2 to 3 hours before Xiao Yan slowly opened his tightly shut eyes. His pale white face had recovered a sleek redness. The exhausted Dou Qi within his body had become much fuller after some recuperation. My strength is still insufficient. With my current strength, I can at the very most deal with experts at the peak of the Dou Zone class. As for Dou Zone class experts, unless I use the final extermination lotus flame, it is likely that I will have difficulty harming them. Xiao Yan opened his eyes, sensed the condition within his body, and sighed in relief. After which, he immediately mused to himself in his heart. There were a little too many experts who had appeared in the big battle today. This allowed Xiao Yan to truly understand his strength. In the Central Plains, one must rely on one's fist to speak. If Sun Er had not arrived in time today, it was likely that the fate of his group would not have been good. However, if he possessed enough strength, to the point where he need not fear the valley chief of the Ice River Valley, he would naturally be able to rely on himself to resolve such a situation instead of relying on his luck and waiting for others to aid him. Sun Er was able to rescue him once, but what about the second time, or the third, or the fourth? The matter of Sun Er intervening to rescue him would likely reach the ears of the Gu clan very soon. Xiao Yan was uncertain what their attitude toward him would be. However, one needed to think of the worst scenario if anything happened. If this Gu clan were to attack him one day in an attempt to snatch the Tu Shi ancient god's Jade, he needed to be in possession of a strength that belonged to him. Xiao Yan believed that even if the Gu clan were opposing him, Sun Er would not attack him. This point could be proven by the fact that the Gu clan was still unaware that the Tu Shi ancient god's Jade was with him even now. Since Sun Er was able to keep such an important matter a secret, it was possible for him to tell where he was within her heart. Of course, if this were to really happen, it was likely that Sun Er would descend into a swirl between love and kin. At that time, she would suffer regardless of who was victorious. This was also something that Xiao Yan did not wish to say. No matter how I put it, it all boils down to me not being strong enough. If I possess sufficient strength, even the Gu clan would not forcefully attack me. Xiao Yan softly sighed. His fist suddenly tightened. With each advancement of a star, he was able to sense that strength was the most important thing. Family, love, clan, etc., all these things could only be protected with sufficient strength. A glaring expression flashed across Xiao Yan's dark black eyes. His hand gently touched his chest. There was still over half of the demon poison spot remaining. If he were to completely refine this thing, Xiao Yan believed that he would be able to become a 4-star Dou Zone. Once he obtained the 3000 burning flame, he might even be able to reach the peak of the Dou Zone class. At that time, he would possess the ability to fight even when facing a super expert like Bing He. Once I have fully recovered from my injuries, I will refine the demon poison spot. This thing has remained in my body for so many years. It is time to completely get rid of it. Xiao Yan clenched his fist as he finally made up his mind in his heart. Xiao Yan slowly relaxed. He was just about to enter his training state once again when his eyes suddenly turned to the window of the room. He smiled and said, "Since you are already here, why are you still hiding?" A soft laugh was transmitted into the room after Xiao Yan smiled. Immediately, a green-colored figure drifted in. She stood prettily in front of Xiao Yan and smiled as she said, "It is already so late, yet Xiao Yan has yet to rest. Xiao Yan watched this elegant and enchanting lady in front of him under the gentle lamplight. A boiling heat quietly rose in his heart. The emotions he had suppressed for many years appeared to be like an erupting volcano in the absence of anyone else. He could not suppress its eruption. Sun Er's face revealed embarrassment that an outsider would never see after her hand was grabbed by Xiao Yan. However, she did not free her hand. After being separated from Xiao Yan for so many years, her feelings had not only not faded but had become warmer, like the accumulated sediment following the flow of time, spreading to every part of her body. Sun Er shifted her feet and sat by the side of the bed. Her face gently leaned against Xiao Yan's broad shoulders as she softly muttered, "Xiao Yan Ji, Sun Er has really missed you all these years." Hearing the feelings of attachment in the lady's words would shock any outsider who heard them. Xiao Yan felt a warmth in his heart. His arm rolled down, and he hugged Sun Er's delicate and soft waist. After which, he buried his head into her smooth, black hair and sniffed the faint fragrance. The slight frustration within his heart seemed to vanish at this moment. Sun Er allowed Xiao Yan to hug her. A moment later, she finally raised her head. Her intelligent eyes of her looked at Xiao Yan's face as she flipped her hand. A golden-colored scroll appeared in it, and she handed the scroll to Xiao Yan. This is the last 3 seals of the God Seal skill. With Xiao Yan Ji's current strength, you should be able to practice the 3rd seal, Sun Er softly said. Xiao Yan Ji should not reject it. The Central Plains is not the Black Corner region. There are as many experts as there are clouds here. One would be safer if one has more skills to preserve one's life. Sun Er cannot continue to remain here. Therefore, you cannot find an excuse to reject this God Seal skill. Xiao Yan was startled when he saw the glittering, golden scroll. He felt some helplessness. This girl seems to be always thinking of pushing her things on him. A smile surfaced on Sun Er's face when she saw Xiao Yan accept the scroll. The current Xiao Yan no longer possessed the kind of insolent sharpness that he had back then. Instead, he was a lot more matured and restrained. That's right, Xiao Yan Ji, you did not allow anyone else know about the matter of the Dou Qi ancient god's jade, did you? Sun Er appeared to have recalled something as she suddenly asked in a serious voice. That's right, Xiao Yan trailed off. This thing had far too great of an implication. He naturally did not dare to inform anyone about it. Even the little fairy doctor, Tian Zunjia, and the others did not know about the existence of the Dou Qi ancient god's jade. Sun Er finally sighed in relief upon hearing him. This Dou Qi ancient god's jade, is it something that the Gu clan wished to obtain? Xiao Yan frowned slightly and asked. Sun Er hesitated for a moment upon hearing this. She nodded and softly said, the Dou Qi ancient god's jade is related to the mystery of Dou Di. I think that Xiao Yan Ji is also aware of this matter. Ever since the ancient times, seldom do any experts manage to break through to the Dou Di class. Those Dou Dis back then all seem to have vanished overnight. We can only find some remnant information from some ancient text. Xiao Yan braced his attention after hearing a great secret of the continent for the first time. He said, in other words, if one were to cobble together the pieces of the Dou Qi ancient god's jade, one would be able to obtain the method to advance to the Dou Di class. Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows. He had occasionally heard Yao Lao mention that the flame mantra was something that he had obtained by chance. Could it be that the flame mantra was obtained from that so-called Dou Di relics? The Dou Qi ancient god is the last Dou Di that has appeared on the Dou Qi continent that we know of. He left behind a Dou Di mansion hidden within empty space. This Dou Di mansion is well preserved. My Gu clan and the Hall of Souls are thinking of entering it. The Dou Qi ancient god's jade is the key to opening that Dou Di mansion.